Hello. This segment will introduce you to some of the resources that are available to UC graduate students and specifically UCSB graduate students. So for the first resource, what you can do is just type in UCSB Graduate Division into a search. It should be the first thing that pops up. And then a lot of the resources that we're going to show you today can be found in the Financial Support tab. So if you click here on Financial Support, you can scroll down. There are a lot of other resources that you may find useful as you're doing some of these funding searches. But what we're going to focus on today is the extramural funding resources. So click on the general description of extramural funding sources. When you click there, you'll see a brief paragraph that describes some of the many resources that we have. But like I said, this video will focus on some of the UC-specific awards that are really geared toward graduate student funding only. So we'll look at the source, we'll look at UCLA GRAPES, and then we'll also talk a little bit about the Grad Post. First, let's start with UCLA GRAPES, which is probably the broader of the three options that we're going to talk about today. So UCLA, this funding search engine is really geared towards graduate students and postdoc funding. And it's nice because it's a very simple search. You don't have to have a lot of keywords, you don't have to put a lot of thought into the search, you can kind of just jump in and get a lot of results. So you'll want to choose a discipline. For now, I'll go with biology. You can select an academic level. You may want to say that you're a prospective or current graduate student. If you're specifically working on a thesis or a dissertation, you may want to check one of those options. And GRAPE Search does not allow you to select more than one option at one time. So if you wanted to look at current graduate student funding options as well as doctoral dissertation funding options, you may want to rerun your search again using the other criteria. For now, I'll click on current graduate student. As far as award type goes, again, you can select that you want to search for all award types, or you can select a specific type of award. So if I was just interested in looking at fellowships or grants, I might select that, but if I was interested in all types of funding opportunities, I could click that all category. It does give you an option about whether or not you want to include travel abroad in your search. You can set a minimum award amount if you have something in mind that you need a specific amount of money for. You can also exclude awards that are open only to individuals who are in certain categories. So if I'm a man, I could say that I want to exclude awards open only to women. If I'm an international student, I could exclude awards that are open to only U.S. citizens. So these can be useful criteria to make sure you're not coming up with a bunch of opportunities that maybe aren't geared to you. Usually I keep these just standard, just details about how you want to sort or display your results, but that's basically all you need to fill out, and then you can click on search. And here are the results of our search. They're organized by deadlines. You can see over here some of the deadlines that are popping up, as well as the different awards. And if you see something that looks interesting, you can click on it. You'll get a lot more information about that opportunity, as well as often links or contact information for who you would need to talk to if you wanted to follow up on that opportunity. Now, it's important to realize that this search is relatively broad, so not all of the opportunities may apply to your research or what your focus is, but it does give you a lot of opportunities to look through. The other piece of advice I would give is that if the deadline has already passed for an award, that doesn't necessarily mean it's not being offered again. Sometimes this page isn't updated immediately with the awards, so you may want to go back and check the actual organization's homepage to see what information they have. Okay, so that is the GRAPE search. So going back to our extramural funding resources page, the next resource I'll show you is the source. The source is a list of funding opportunities that's actually compiled by Graduate Division here at UCSB. And what you'll see is that it's organized into three main areas. We have humanities and fine arts, science, engineering, and math, and social sciences and education. If you scroll down, you can see a list of all the opportunities that are coming up, organized by categories here, and then also by deadlines over here. And again, if you want additional information on one of these awards, you can click on Info and it will come up with more information. So this is a nice, easy way where without even, conducting a search, you can immediately see, okay, what are some opportunities that are coming up in my area? If you're not a humanities and fine arts graduate student, you can scroll down and you'll see opportunities for science, engineering, and math, as well as social sciences and education. So this is a great tool to look at any point, kind of get an idea of what are some immediate opportunities coming up that may qualify for me. Another thing that's really nice about the source is that you can subscribe to funding listservs where you can get automatic emails that give you a list of not only upcoming funding opportunities, but also opportunities that have been recently added to the list. So if you've looked at the list before, you haven't looked at it in a while, you'll get an email that says, okay, here are things that you may want to consider because they're coming up soon, in addition to a list of here are some new things we've added that you may not have seen. So to subscribe to any of these, you just click on one. If I'm in the sciences, engineering, and math, I would click here. You're going to want to type in your email address, and they do want you to use your UMail address, so make sure to enter that in. As far as all of these, I recommend just leaving it as is, and then you can click Join the Listserv. If at any time you decide that you don't want to be a part of the listserv, you just go through the same process to leave the listserv. So it's pretty easy if you decide that it's not a tool that's useful for you. It's pretty easy to get out of it. But you're not going to get clogged up with emails. These come about every 2 weeks or every month. So you're only getting them every so often, and they can be a really helpful way to kind of get an automatic reminder to look for funding opportunities. Okay, so that's the source. The last thing that I'm going to talk about in this segment is the Grad Post. So the Grad Post website is just gradpost.ucsb.edu. And this website is a website for graduate students at UCSB. It has all kinds of information, not just funding information. So if you go to this website, you'll see information about events, tools, career opportunities, funding opportunities, classifieds, all different types of things geared toward graduate students here at UCSB. But the fun section may be particularly useful for you as a graduate student. In this section, we post a lot of interesting fellowship opportunities that we hear about. If there's other funding opportunities like student employment opportunities, we'll post those here. So if you're looking for maybe non-traditional funding sources, we would post those in this section as well. If you scroll down to the side, you'll see we have this funding cloud over here that basically has a variety of tags. So when we post an article or we post an opportunity, we tag it with a lot of keywords. So if you're in biology, you might want to check out all of the posts that are geared towards biology individuals. But you'll also see larger categories here. So you can sort by fellowships and look at all the things that we've posted that are fellowships. You can look at general funding opportunities, funding resources, research funding, so specific to research projects, and then also student employment. So student employment are opportunities to earn some money here on campus or in our nearby community. But what I most want to highlight in this segment is the funding resources. So here, this is a really useful section when you're looking for funding. We do have some basic information on financial aid and those types of things, but there's some other resources it highlights that I think is really useful. One is this funding proposal library. This is actually located in the Graduate Student Resource Center on the first floor of the Student Resource Building. But this post basically describes the proposals that we had as of this date. We're constantly getting new fellowship proposals from students to help you, when you're applying for these fellowships, put together the best application possible. And a lot of students find it really helpful to find and read some successful fellowship proposals. So that's something you definitely want to keep in mind that we have access to. The other thing that we post here online is videos from some of the workshops that we do. So the NSF Predoctoral Fellowship is a really common, really popular fellowship among our graduate students. Our graduate students have a lot of success with this fellowship. And we recently hosted a workshop where we went over tips for applying to this fellowship. We then posted the video on the Grad Post, so if you're interested in applying to the NSF Fellowship or any other NSF-related funding, this gives you a lot of good tips for doing that. You'll also, if you scroll through here, see some other funding resources that are available, including a Finding Funding video tutorial. So here is a copy of an earlier version that we did of finding funding information. So some of the same information you saw in this video can also be found on the Graduate Post. And finally, down here, we have a list of department-specific funding list links. So if you click here, you'll actually get a document that gives you some links to really great funding opportunities specific to your discipline, and these can be really nice when you're jumping into funding opportunities. So I won't go through everything, but there is a lot to check out on the Grad Post, so definitely keep it in mind when you're looking for funding tools as well as for other things going on at UCSB. So that wraps up our explanation of some UC and UCSB specific funding tools. I hope that those are helpful. If you have any questions, remember you can always contact your funding peer at fundingpeer@graddiv.ucsb.edu. Have a great day.